Okay, here we are at the carpet. So, I'm pretty much going to teach you how to hallucinate. Essentially, what you're doing is using your imagination, but instead of imagining in your head, in like I don't know, a dream state, or, kind of imagine like a canvas in your mind, you're using the world as the canvas. Okay? Now, step 0, you can skip this if you already have a good imagination. But for the people who do not have a very good imagination, what you need to do is to practice imagining stuff in your head. And what we do is we start off with, firstly, you close your eyes and you kind of focus in like the middle of your head, right? Because you got to think, your ability to imagine has a physical organ, right? And if you focus on the physical organ of the imagination, you stimulate it and you energize it, and then you feel the energetic center of it, right? So you want to kind of focus in the middle of the head, and then try to see something like color. Try to see, black or white, or remember a piece of paper. If you just can't see colors or anything, try to remember a piece of white paper and see if, by focusing around your head, like the middle of your head, kind of maybe inward, you feel your eyes and then kind of inward in the middle there, you can see that piece of paper or that white background. I'm going to be completely honest, if you just cannot imagine at all, I don't know how to get you to imagine, besides like psychedelic herbs and minerals and animal substances and such. Basically, they stimulate the imagination, or besides like focusing in the head, I don't really know what I could do to help you. But if you can kind of imagine something, then essentially you get that background, that white or black, whatever background, and then you start to create two-dimensional geometry. For example, you make a circle and you just imagine the circle and you move the circle around, right? So it's like you imagine, if you got a white background, you imagine a black circle. And again, if you're having trouble, you can draw this on a piece of paper and try to remember what it looks like. Or use like a ring or something and move it around and look at it, So, I don't know, this piece of whatever this is, you look at that and you think, oh, circle, and then you move it around and then you try to remember what did that look like in your head. Or once you get good at it, you just think of a circle and you move it left, right, up, down, and in these kinds of angles. And then you do it with the square, you do it with the triangle. And once you can do all that, you start to try to flip in three-dimensional space. You try to flip the object, right? And eventually you do that with 3D objects, so a sphere, a cube, and a pyramid, and you try to change the colors, and you just keep practicing until you get good. Now, step 1. So assuming you have a basic grasp of the imagination, what we can do to hallucinate within space is, firstly, you want to learn how to feel in reality, to feel outwards from your body. And you do this kind of by looking at something or an area of space. For example, when we look at something, we're either usually looking in front of us or further away from us, right? Meaning we're looking at a point in space, either, again, closer or further, or somewhere in the middle. And this is the idea of like long-sightedness or short-sightedness, right? Some people have trouble doing that. Meaning we're focusing either closely or far away with our vision. When you focus with your vision, to an extent, you are focusing with your sense of touch, because all of the senses are technically, they can relate. They can, depending on your state of consciousness, once you get to a higher state of consciousness, through extreme stress or various substances or meditational practices, or just, life has its rhythms, right? They all combine. So what I'm trying to say is maybe look further in the distance and then look like an object close to you. Look at an object close to you and then look at an object far away. And try to like put your aura in the object. Try to feel the curves and the sharp points and the geometry, the space of the object. Feel how heavy do you think it is? It's almost like you've got little arms coming out from like everywhere, and you're touching it with your with thousands of arms or hands or whatever, right? That's kind of what you're doing. And then once you get good at it, you just focus on the object and you just feel out all of the curves and the spaces that it is, and you can feel the texture and the weight. So you want to practice learning how to feel outside of your body. And what you can do is you can sit there and you can expand your aura, which is like your sense of touch, you can think, and then you feel your body, and then you expand it out to the room around you. You push out towards the room and all the objects, and you'll notice that the objects, it's almost like they will push towards you. If you can, practice just feeling around the room, pushing out your sense of feeling, your energy through the space around you. And you'll notice when it gets close to an object, try to use big objects, right? Like walls and couches and, whatever, tables and such. It's much more easier that you will be able to feel something, even if it's just kind of on your skin, just a little bit away from your body. And the more you do this, the better you get. Mind you, this took me months, if not years, to really develop the skill. But of course, you should be able to get it pretty easily. Right, so once you're able to feel outside the body, you can then begin to pinpoint specific locations. For example, pinpoint your focus there, and you can look at that area, and then you can try to draw in, like tense in the focus, the feeling. Once you get the feeling for having your feeling outside your body, I know it sounds so weird, you'll be able to just like focus there, then focus there, then focus there, and there, and there, and just wherever you want to focus, right? And what you can start to do is to turn your focus into different objects. For example, we can make it into a ring or a square or pyramid. I can't really make a pyramid with my hands, I'm afraid. You can make it into all of these different shapes, right? Because you're manipulating like a substance, which can be anything, right? So practice, because again, you got to think about it. If you're focusing on an object in the distance, Your sense, your energy is essentially, your sense of feeling is becoming the shape of that object. Meaning, if you become like a sphere, a ball, you don't have to use the ball to make your energy into the shape of a ball outside of yourself, right? So you can just do that. So then what we want to do is we want to, again, you can start with two-dimensional geometry, things like rings or squares or, lines or whatever, if you want. Or you can start with 3D if you're feeling a little more experienced. What we want to do is, or you could start with objects, actually, whatever one you like. So depending on what you want to do, either choose a ring, a ball, or an apple, the old apple test of the imagination. And you want to imagine the apple or the ball or the ring in your imagination. And then you want to feel in space. So I'm using this ground as kind of like the void plane right now. This is like, it's like the fabric of reality. I'm going to imagine the apple where this black thing, I don't even know what it is. It's not mine, so I don't know what it is. This black thing is, right? That's what we're going to do. I'm going to imagine an apple in this area because I'm going to feel this area. I'm just feeling it all out. And then I'm also imagining in my mind the apple, but I'm imagining it where I'm feeling it. So if you think about it, if you understand how to draw, you understand that to make this closer, all I'm doing is making it larger. To make it further away, all I'm doing is making it smaller. To change the angle, all I'm doing is I'm kind of squashing it's called an ellipse. That's a circle. That's an ellipse. Now it's a whatever you'd call that, it's basically a rectangle, isn't it? That's a rectangle. It's just that it's shaded to show that it's not a rectangle, to show that it's a physical object. So basically what I'm saying is that you can just start to imagine while you've got your eyes open. Just imagine the ring, right? While you've got your eyes open in front of you. You use a table or do it on the ground or whatever. Just look and imagine the ring while you've got your eyes open and just try to really vividly see it while instead of using the white canvas, you are using the ground or the table or whatever it happens to be. And then you just want to move it around, right? So again, using our ideas on vision, if you get the apple here in front of you and you can move it left, right, up, down, and you can see it while using the reality as your canvas. It's a bit like one of those 3D glasses where they use, the real world as the map, and then they just superimpose little characters along, wherever. So you imagine the apple. All you need to do is make the apple smaller or bigger to technically move it further and closer away, right? So try to do that. Try to make either the sphere, the ring, the apple, and whatever color it happens to be, to be close right up to your eyes, and then further away, and close and further away, and then you want to spin it around, rotate it and move it, and have full control over the apple or the ring or the sphere or whatever you want to choose, the object in question, will say. So either pause the video or just give yourself a minute to do that. And the more you want to make it more detailed, enhance the ability to see, enhance the quality of it, right? And eventually, if you practice more and more, you can imagine lots of little things everywhere, and doing whatever you want. And it's a bit like, I think children have this ability. I would imagine a lot of this stuff is just we had it as children, and then because we do lots of things as adults and have to work jobs and whatever, we no longer have these abilities anymore, or we just because we don't use them. What is the practical purpose of this? Well, I tried to use it to like measure and count, of which I didn't really get experienced enough to be able to do it properly. I kind of could do it. Just say, you just imagine a 1, then a 2, then a 3, and a 4 in space around you, instead of saying 1, 2, 3 in your head, right? It's just a fun little thing to do. Or, as I said, I tried to remember how big a ruler is and then apply a mental ruler to reality. So there are those little things like that which you can do. Otherwise, this is essentially used in magic, right? This is what you're doing in a magical ritual, and you're meant to be imagining geometry. When you're trying to define space, which is like feel an area of space and then change the mood of the room, or something like that. I went over it in I have a magic book that I sell on my Gumroad and some other places. I went over it in that, but I'm pretty much telling you, the basics of it here. Yeah, it's a bit like, I always thought maybe if I did this eventually I could make like a real apple. And I still kind of think that, but I have not been able to make a real apple by hallucinating it yet, unfortunately. My kind of working hypothesis is that you just focus on the object and you kind of densify the energy, because you got to think the energy is a real thing. When you focus on this area, it's a real thing. What you may notice is that when you start focusing on areas and you just keep hallucinating an apple for like 5 minutes, right, to really hammer in and practice, is that you'll see like a blue glow, and that blue glow won't leave for like, it'll take a couple minutes, right? This is a real energy. You are actually working with like real stuff. And once you realize that, then you realize, oh wait, this can have a effect on reality, right? It's very subtle. One time I got a free drink can. I didn't even want a drink can. I was just I was practicing this at a shop while waiting for some food, and on the table I was imagining a drink can, because I had a drink can with me, and I imagined a secondary one, and I just imagined it in the middle and side, and just all these, just playing around with the drink can, the imaginary drink can. And then the shop owner comes out and hands me a drink can. I'm like, what are you doing? I don't want that. I've already got one. I'm showing him. I'm like, I already got one. No, it's okay. And he's like, no, take it. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll take a second drink can. That's not something that happens every day, but that did happen. I didn't even want a drink can. So what are the mechanics of that? I don't really know. I guess it does get into stuff like, people imagining stuff, objects, and then eventually they get it. Is that true? I mean, I guess so. It's more of like how much effort are you willing to put into, you imagine something, you imagine yourself doing it, and then 6 months later you have that thing, or you're doing that thing. I've done that a couple times in life, actually, and it has worked. Of course, you got to, sometimes you're just viewing the future. Sometimes you're just getting a psychic premonition of what is going to happen in the future, I think, or what you want to happen in the future. Because, sometimes life does give you what you want. Not always, but it does sometimes. Of course, the point that I'm trying to hammer in is that you're still going to have to work for it, right? It's just you're focusing your navigation system on something. But, look, I'm not really interested in like petty, wish magic. The way that I see it is like, get experienced enough in life to the point where you don't have to wish for money or for people or for whatever it is. You can just do that because you're just such a like an experienced person. You know how to use magic. I'm more interested in trying to make an apple right in front of me, right? Admittedly, then I could make a bunch of cash. That'd be pretty fun. Or then I could like light a fire or make water or something. Just like, is this the basis of magic? I think kind of. The whole stuff with the feeling stuff, I think that's like a basis. Again, my hypothesis of magic, of real magic, not this, wish magic or whatever, which is nice in its own way, but like real, like levitating, setting shit on fire. My hypothesis is that you focus in space and you quite literally turn the energy of that space or your own energy into something in a real way.